Hello everyone, Jeff with the Green Review here. We're talking about pruning, and today the pruning process is going to be on summer bloomers. This is a spirea. It's early in the spring, and we would normally prune spring blooming plants now, right after they're blooming. But summer bloomers, like the spireas, can be pruned in the fall or the following spring because they're blooming on the ends of new growth. So all of the new growth that's coming up are going to produce flowers on the ends sometime during the summer. We like to leave them a lot of times because the branches like this accumulate snow and accumulate leaves and help protect the base of the plant. You can see that the top of this plant is really doing poorly. The very top is the dead flower clusters, and they should be pruned off. If you have a mild winter and a lot of the inside branches are growing, then you can go ahead and leave it if you want to, just doing a little touch-up pruning. But a lot of times, like for instance, this branch was growing underneath the snow. It did really, really well. But these branches up here that were exposed to the winter cold didn't do as well. So the snow protected the bottom and the cold up here got the top. So we're going to take the top off of this plant and just have this good growth coming out of the bottom. Otherwise, we'll just have a few scattered things up around the top here and a big cluster of stuff that will come up eventually and help hide it. But you'll still have to cut off all this stuff on the top. You can use head shears and just go through and take the top off, or you can do the smaller hand pruner and go down clear to the base and cut the branches off right down near the base. If there's a branch that has a good bud on it that's growing, go ahead and leave it if you want to. But mainly we're going to take these things out right at the base of the plant, and when we're done we'll have a much nicer looking plant. We're going to go ahead and cut off some of these that have some branches growing on them, but overall the plant will still end up being healthier and look nicer if we take off all of those branches instead of leaving a few scattered ones around. Well, as you can see, it doesn't take very long to do this. We now have a much nicer looking plant. We can pull out some of these dead leaves in here and expose some of the lower growing things to the sunlight. These little sprouts will now have more light and make a fuller plant in the middle. If you want to prune a spring bloomer like this in, say, February, when the snows are just leaving the ground, or in March, depending on your area, you'll have an easier time just taking a head shears and cutting them down. I like sometimes to let them grow and see, because in some years you don't have to do much pruning at all, just taking the flower heads off the top. So depending on the winter, you might have a lot of pruning or a small amount of pruning. It'll bloom just as well this summer this way as it would have if we hadn't pruned it at all. Actually, it'll look better because we won't have all that dead stuff in there. So this is summer pruning, and I appreciate your watching. This has been a Green Review.